On this third Sunday of Easter, the resurrected Lord appeared to a couple of his disciples who were heading from Jerusalem to the village of Emmaus. Last weekend, the second Sunday of Easter, Jesus appeared to his 11 remaining apostles who were behind locked doors. And so last weekend, resurrected Jesus appears to people inside a house. This weekend, he appears to a couple of his disciples outside when they're taking a walk. Have you been taking any walks lately during this time of stay at home and shutdown? If you have been taking some walks, maybe you notice things that you don't notice when you drive by in your car. During this time of year, the earth is coming back to life. Springtime. You notice things with the trees blossoming, the flowers. Maybe you're hearing and seeing more birds than usual. Maybe you're seeing some other critters and creatures around, or worms, or so on and so forth. And also, if you just take a walk around, you can even feel that the earth is ready to come back to life. Of course, we've had a lot of rain, so it's nice and soft out there. But taking your time, not being in a hurry, you notice things you don't usually notice. Thankfully, those disciples on their way to Emmaus were not in a hurry, thankfully for them. Their hearts were troubled because of everything that happened to Jesus, the passion and the death of Jesus, and they weren't for sure, they didn't see with their own eyes, having to do with he came back, the resurrection. And when Jesus would appear to them on the road to Emmaus, he did not look like himself, so he's kind of hidden from their understanding. But anyways, thankfully they were not in a hurry. When we take our time from going from point A to point B in life, not being in a hurry, sometimes the very things that we need from God, we're asking for God, will be provided if we just give it a chance to let it manifest itself and let ourselves respond to it. So, a couple lessons from this gospel account, Luke chapter 24, the gospel account of the road to Emmaus. First lesson, instead of ignoring a stranger, allow the stranger to join in, you individually or your group. Those two disciples allowed Jesus to do what? To butt in to their conversation. Again, they did not recognize him at first, but they allowed him to ask, "What are you talking about on your way?" And they said, "Are you the only one who does not know what happened to Jesus the Nazarene, a man who was great in word and deed, how he was arrested, crucified, and killed?" And so that's what they said. And then they allowed Jesus to respond. This is what Jesus said. "Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" They listened to a stranger too. And in listening to the stranger, Jesus revealed to them this was God's plan all along. The Messiah would be sent as the suffering servant to absorb the sins of the world, the sins of man, and to take away those sins, that he was the fulfillment of Scripture. And so, by listening to the stranger, they were reminded of something. Maybe they forgot, or maybe they learned something new. So, taking your time and allowing a stranger to enter, and who knows, that stranger might become a new friend eventually. The second lesson from the road to Emmaus and taking our time and not hurrying is sharing a meal. It used to be very normal in family life. You didn't even have an option. Everybody's going to have dinner together, period. But what was normal changed to new normals, meaning family being always on the go. And so during this time of no school, no sports, shutdowns, quarantine, maybe you set a personal family record in this past month and a half of meals together. Jesus was made known to those disciples on Emmaus when they sat down and shared a meal. The disciples invited him to do so, even though it looked like he was going to keep on moving forward. They said, "Stay, let's share this meal together." Jesus was made known to him in the breaking of the bread, something that the priest does every single Mass. And that's when they saw, it's him. He is the resurrected one. He came back to us. He is the Messiah of his word, and he has the power over death. And that's when they recognized him. And then they recalled, were our hearts not burning when he spoke to us, when he was in our presence? And it happened when they shared a meal. Your family and your friends are made known to you in a special way that you absorb by sharing time together and sharing that meal. And moms and dads, you remember this, when you were dating each other many years ago, what was the center point of your gathering? Getting to know each other. Oftentimes, it was going out on a date, sharing a meal, and then hanging out afterwards. That's how you got to know each other. And so, especially when you make your own bread, make your own dinner, you absorb something of each other, get to know each other, and hopefully it's the bonds of love that you have during the breaking of the bread when you take that time to share a meal. And so, slowing down and taking your time is almost like it was not a virtue, in modern times, but really it is. Isn't that when you do some of your best work? When you slow down and take your time and concentrate and you accomplish it without mistakes? Isn't that when you do your best listening to somebody else? When you're not in a rush, just absorb and really process what somebody is saying, either through words or through their feelings. And isn't it when we do our best praying? It's almost like there's no such thing as praying unless we slow down. Either slowing down our minds, our thoughts that keep on going, slow down our heart, and slow down our activity. There's no praying unless there's some form of slowing down. And it's the way of finding Jesus, slowing down, taking our time, and allowing ourselves to be found by Jesus. So, while we are still away from public Mass during this period, get outside while you can. And remember, we have a hope that the sun and the heat will take away the virus, hopefully knock it out some. And also, we believe the Son of God, can knock out the virus of fear, of depression, anything. You know it. If we get too locked inside of ourselves, some of the best medicine is just to get outside, take a walk, fresh air, some sunshine, take our time, and we absorb what we need from God and what we need to continue on with our day and get to the next. So, these are some of the lessons from the third Sunday of Easter, the resurrection account of Jesus meeting his disciples on the road to Emmaus.